Action. Tea for time, y'all. I think we all need a time out from the weekend. I'm not sure what you guys did this weekend, but I had a busy one. And unfortunately, we have no Kiara today. She is off gallivanting in Europe. Guys should follow her because she's a great follow, one. And two, she is doing probably what all of us want to be doing. And that is taking a vacation and going around Europe with her best friend. That sounds amazing. And she made it really smart about it. She was like, you know what? I'm not tied down. I don't have a boyfriend. And when I do have a boyfriend, I probably wouldn't do this with my best friend. So cheers to you, Kira. I mean, again, I always talk about how wise you are, but I wish I was with you. But instead, I'm here doing this podcast without you. So I miss you. It was a wild, wild weekend in the NFL. I mean, if you are a fan of the NFL in general, you probably saw many wins that you weren't expecting, many losses that you also weren't expecting. We have the Cowboys getting, I don't like to use the word crushed because you could probably use that with our game too. Just getting beat pretty good. Hold on. And I took all these notes because I was like, this is wild to me. And this is why I love, honestly, the NFL in general is incredible because you just never know. You really never know what is going to happen. All these teams are so talented, but they show different schemes, and that can cause trouble for teams that you might not think would cause trouble. I'm going to bring up this photo because it's going to, okay, here we go. So we had the Cowboys getting upset by the Saints in Dallas at home. Kind of wild. The Bucs upset the Lions in Detroit. I know we have a lot of Detroit listeners. I usually watch, obviously, the early games, but I was traveling with my girls at this point, so I was not able to watch this. I was very surprised to see the score at the end of the game. So I'm sorry for all you Detroit fans. I do know that, football is football, and you just got to bounce back from it. The Vikings upset the 49ers. That's big for us. We needed that considering we lost to the Cardinals. That was a tough one, I think, for fans to swallow, the team to swallow. But you know what? You just got to pick up and move on. And I think Matthew got asked the question in his post-game presser about 0-2 teams making the playoffs and how that's difficult. And I wish he would have come back. He made the right answer like he always does. But I wish he would come back with, well, what about a 3-6 team? Because that's what we were last year, and we made the playoffs. So there's always it's just the NFL is crazy. But the Vikings upsetting 49ers, huge for us. The Raiders upsetting the Ravens in Baltimore. Who else? We have, the night game was, I don't even know. We didn't watch it because honestly, when it's funny when things aren't going the way you want them and you're playing this sport, you tend to not want to watch any more of it. So we did not watch the night game last night. We got in early. I'm going to talk to you guys about my experience in Arizona. I've gone to Arizona one other time. I absolutely love it. The fans are very nice. It's just hot as all get out. Oh my gosh. It was a sauna there. Thank goodness their stadium is inside. But I will say there were a ton of Rams fans. I was very, very impressed by this. I didn't know, I wasn't sure if it was because I honestly was like, maybe the flight and the ticket to the Arizona game is cheaper than a ticket to SoFi. I'm not sure, but I was very, very surprised at how many Rams fans there were at this Arizona game. Like you guys know, I took all my kids. This is the first away game that we went to that we sat in the stands. Normally, if we went to Detroit, we wouldn't be sitting in the stands, things like that. But with the kids, I was a little nervous, and I kept trying to persuade Tyler not to come. I was like, listen, you have no iPad. There's no iPads. There's no coloring. Like, you could stay and have a great time with Tata and Asher, and we'll be back. We flew in, flew out. Girl wanted to come. Oh, she wanted to come. And the night before, we had something that kept us out late. And I just knew, I was like, she's going to be a nightmare. And I tried to convince her in the morning, but no, she wanted to go watch her dad play. So we show up, we fly, our flight gets delayed. American Airlines gets delayed. And I'm like, and it was already getting us in at like 11:45. Game started at 1. So I was like, this is not good. On the way to the airport, it gets delayed again. I'm like, okay, well, I look at Southwest. Thank goodness Southwest had a flight leaving at the time that we needed. I booked that flight and I'm like, just more money, to get there. And looking at it now, did we really want to go? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. We would always go there to support Matthew. But we get on the Southwest flight and I have David with us, who is known as Uncle David in our house. And he is a big human being. He played O-line, if that tells you anything. And here he is in a middle seat on a Southwest flight because my 2 little ones want to sit next to him. So he can't even take the aisle seat. And I'm like, girls, this is ridiculous. Like, he needs to be in the aisle. You can't both sit next to him. And they are just throwing a fit. He's like, it's okay. I'll sit in the middle. I felt horrible. He's literally like this massive dude now, luckily it's an Arizona flight. It's very short, so it wasn't that bad. And they get their iPads on the flight. So they they just do their thing, which is very nice. So we get there, we park at the stadium, we're walking through, and I never realized how kind of dicey it is with kids at games, especially when there's 4 of them. The fact that it's like, that people do this every game. When we go to SoFi, we walk in, we park near where we are sitting. At Arizona, I had no idea where we were. So we walk in, we're on the other side of the stadium. So we're walking around, and at the beginning, we got there kind of like right when things started to, get busy. People were trying to get to their seats. And you realize how quickly you can lose one. Now, did I lose one? Almost. Thank goodness David was with me. I think it was like Sawyer. Sawyer gets like sidetracked. She's like, whoa, look at all the people. And all of a sudden I turn around, Sawyer's gone. And it's that's a scary feeling, especially when they have Stafford on their chest. I always have a fear of like someone taking them and wanting money, which please don't do that. But I would pay everything. No, it's like one of the fears. So when Sawyer disappeared, I was like, oh gosh. Luckily we hear this high pitched voice grab her. We get to our area. This made me laugh so hard. We get to our area. I'm like, guys, let's go to the bathroom before we go sit down. So we make our way into the stalls, and if you guys have been to an NFL game, it's like a massive stall area. There's probably like 40 stalls. And so my girls go in, and Tyler is taking a very long time, like to the point of where I'm like, are you scrolling on Instagram? Like, what are you doing on the toilet so long? And I'm hearing the announcer. They're like, all right, who's ready? And I'm like, Tyler. I'm like, Tyler, babe, are you okay? And she's like, I'm pooping. I mean, she yells it. The entire bathroom stall stops, looks at me, and I was like, yeah, it's my child. It's fine. We're fine. And I was like, okay, well, can you hurry? And she's like, you can't hurry, poop, Mom. And that has never come out of my mouth. I don't know where she heard that. I know she's right, but I was just like, my mouth dropped. I'm looking at these nice women. There's Rams fans in there, and they're like, one of them going came, she's like, I listened to the podcast and this is incredible. I hope you talk about it. I was like, how can you not talk about it? She's just yelling, and she took, I'm not kidding, a 20-minute dump before the game. It's like she had the butterflies that players get, or that, when you're going in for a game. I remember I used to get butterflies, and it makes your stomach turn, right? So there you go. And so she took the 20-minute dump for everybody else and then let everybody else know. And so then I'm like, all right, we got to go. I finally get her out of the stall, wash our hands, out of the bathroom. We're heading down to our seats. We're in row 3. I will say one thing. When I go to away games, I like to sit as close as I can, because at home games, I'm not there. I am in our suite, as most of you know. And so I wanted my girls to have that same experience. So I bought row 3. We get down to the row. I'm not kidding. The tallest men in front of us, 2 sets of men, and they're actually Rams fans, and I know them. So it was kind of nice that we were surrounded by people we knew, but my girls could not see anything. Guys, I've found the MVP of honey. Kind of like my husband is of the NFL, you know what I mean? But it's Manukora. And I didn't really realize how many benefits regular honey had, but Manukora takes it above and beyond. They have honey that supports immunity, gut health. It has these powerful nutrients in it. I love to just honestly take a spoonful of it in the morning. I love it when I'm traveling. I feel like I get all the benefits that I need from just this one spoonful. But I know Matthew likes to put it in his smoothies and things like that to give it that sweet taste. But what's different about it is Manukora has unique antioxidants and prebiotics in it. They provide longer lasting clean energy. They strengthen the immune system. They have a bunch of different kinds as well, but now it's easier than ever to try Manukora honey. Head to manukora.com/morningafter to get $25 off the starter kit, which comes with an MGO 850 plus Manuka honey jar, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's manukora.com/morningafter for $25 off your starter kit. If you're like me, you have no idea how to spell Manukora, so I'm going to tell you. It's manukora.com/morningafter. Tyler's already fussy because she can't see, and where's daddy? Where's daddy? And I'm like, listen, this is not like you're going to yell daddy the entire game and he's going to turn around and smile every time. That's not what's going to happen here. I actually had to tell my kids, listen, you can yell for him at the beginning. He'll probably turn around and say hello, and then we're going to leave it alone because, to be honest, he needs to focus. So we get down to the seats. The girls are like, we can't see. I'm like, okay, well, this is great. And we stand on the seats to get Matthew's attention as he's running out. I have the cutest video that I will share of them screaming to him, Tyler blowing kisses, and the big old smile that I catch under Matthew's helmet as he's saying hello to his girls before the game. Luckily enough, too, there were 4 seats in the front row that nobody came and sat in. So midway through the first quarter, I looked at the girls and I go sit down there. We all went and sat. No one ever showed up. This is crazy to me. Front row tickets, basically the 50-yard line. Did not sell them because I looked. Those definitely weren't up for sale. And didn't show up. Who owns those? That blows my mind. I'm going, it's got to be, there's no way it's not a season ticket holder. It's got to be a season ticket holder. And they just didn't show. I don't know. Wild. And did not sell them. That's what blew my mind. I was like, why are these open? So we ended up sitting next to the tall guys who were very, very accommodating to my girls. My girls love men. And, they were a lot of them were in 9 jerseys. So I feel like they felt very comfortable with these men, almost too comfortable. So the fact where I'd be like, hey, listen, they're here to watch the game. So they're not here to entertain you. Turn around, sit on your bottom. But Tyler, I tell you what, Tyler is one of my biggest flirts, and she did not stop with these boys. And I just, again, I thought it was going to be Hunter, y'all, that was going to give me trouble. But it really, I think it's going to be Tyler. But we got very lucky with those seats because now I realize taking kids to a game, you have to pray that there's no one super tall in front of you. And that, honestly, if we had to stay in those seats, I don't think my kids would have been as well behaved as they were. The fact that they could see had them entertained. I also realized if you have girls, try to sit in front of the cheerleaders. That I looked at David and I was like, ooh, I failed on that. But I obviously wanted to sit where the girls could see their dad. But there's also a part of me who's like, I probably should have put them in front of the cheerleaders because they would have been very entertained by the cheerleaders, who were so sweet as they're walking by. They always said hello to my girls. Not that my girls would allow them to walk by and not say hello because Tyler was screaming at the top of her lungs. So we get through this game. Matthew goes in the blue tent at some point. The game, if you watched it, was ugly. There's really no way around it. We have a lot of injuries happening, and we just have to. I feel like the Rams have to just figure out a way how to survive these next couple weeks until the bye, and then we'll get a bunch of players back after that. But obviously, if you are a Rams fan, you saw Cooper go down yesterday. Puka is already out. We have a bunch of injuries on the O-line. So we're just kind of banged up early in the season. Hopefully, as the season goes on, we get people back and momentum starts to shift in our direction. So anyways, as Matthew also went into the blue tent, which if you know football, the blue tent, when they put the tent over the players, they're getting checked out by medical staff, and they just don't want TVs catching what they're checking out. So that's why they put the blue tent over him. And I had no idea that one of my daughters knew what that meant. I will say it was tough for my daughters. I have two very emotional ones, and Matthew was kind of getting hit a good amount. And they're kind of like me. They watch him. They don't really watch the ball. So when the ball gets released, I'm watching Matthew. And I realized so are my girls, to see what is happening after the ball is released. Is he getting hit? Is he slow to get up? Things like that. And Chandler looked at me and said, "Mom, Daddy's hurt." And I go, what? No, he's fine. She goes, "No, he's in the blue tent." I said, "How do you know what do you mean the blue tent?" She goes, "Where the people go when they're hurt." And I was like, "How do you know that?" Like, we don't talk about the blue tent because I don't like the blue tent, because that just means bad things that are happening underneath it. And I looked at her and I was like, "I'm sure he's fine. They're just going to check him out." And Chandler's actually not my emotional one. Sawyer is. Sawyer overheard and all of a sudden was tears in her eyes, and then Hunter as well. It was like, I don't want Daddy to keep getting hurt. This is something that I've talked about in previous podcasts. It's a hard discussion with your kids, because you have to say, well, he's fine. He's a tough man, but they also see it. And I can only imagine not really understanding the game of football, also why he's out there. They think it's a game. They don't really consider it a job. So they're like, why is he playing if he just keeps getting hurt? And so that was a discussion that I had in the middle of the football game, which honestly was nice because it distracted me from the football game. But that was something that surprised me. And I will say, watching them react, I kind of wish Matthew could see them react to him going down every time. I think maybe he would have taken himself out of that game when we were down 30 points instead of remaining in the game, which I don't understand. We had a convo about it, and it was very short and sweet. And I said, "Was that you that just wanted to stay in the game?" And he was like, "There was no discussion. Or there isn't a discussion here. Like, I will be in the game with my team." Now, I think that it's a great lesson for my girls to see. And that's what he said too. No matter how much you're down, you don't just give up and come out. You stay in the game, and you battle out with your teammates till the clock hits 0. He came over right after the game and kind of was like, "Girls, I'm so sorry. Like, that was a horrible game, but, we're going to get him next time." And the girls like, "Yeah, we'll get him next time, Daddy. We'll get him next time." Great lesson in that. Now, do I wish he would have come out? Yes. I think it's the smarter thing, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Just for injury purposes, I just didn't want him to get hurt on top of everybody else that was already injured. I also find it really funny, Arizona's not known for having this like crazy loud stadium. We get there and all of a sudden everyone starts yelling, and my girls are like, "My ears." I was like, "Oh God, well, I didn't think about that." I feel like those headphones are for toddlers. I don't really have toddlers anymore. And I turn around and there's grown men with earplugs in, and I was like, "Oh gosh, did I mess this up?" But also, earplugs when you're grown men, is that real? Maybe they have some hearing things. I don't know. I just think that's a little interesting. And honestly, I was like, they had like this string. So I was like, hey, are you listening to another game? Like, can you fill me in on what's going on? He's like, oh no, these are just earplugs. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. If you take your kids to a game, here's one thing I will tell you. Pray that you're not behind someone tall. Bring snacks. You're allowed to bring them in. Bring all the snacks you can, because one, that'll keep them busy if they're not like really into the game as much as you'd want them to be. And two, it limits you going up and down those stairs to get things. They also allow you to bring kids' water bottles in. So do that. Now, you might have to empty them before you walk in, kind of like an airport situation, but you can refill them. That way, they have their water bottles. They're not spilling all over, not spilling on the ground. The amount of beer that like trickled down the stairs to our seats covered in beer. I mean, it was actually pretty gross, but, and then one of my favorite parts of this game, y'all, was we were again sitting front row. We're on defense, and all of a sudden I hear defense. Sawyer started a defense cheer, and we all joined in. And again, there were a good amount of Rams fans there. I was very impressed. But my sweet little girl started an entire defense cheer that the whole Rams section joined in on, and I was so proud. Also, her high-pitched voice, I don't know how she didn't mess up Kyler Murray, because that thing is obnoxious. And I have 4 of them screaming at the top of their lungs, and it's so high-pitched, and it just hurts your ears. I needed earplugs at that point, but it hurts your ears. I don't know how it didn't get to Kyler Murray, because, oof, that was tough. But the game, again, guys, the game wasn't great. It just was what it was. We got to move on. We got to get healthy. I'm kind of glad that the NFL is crazy. And honestly, the fact that San Fran lost, the fact that, I mean, y'all are going to hate me, but the Lions lost their NFC. I mean, like anyone in the NFC, we want to be 1-1 or 0-2. We don't like any 2-0 NFC teams right now. So moving on, Thursday night, I believe it was Thursday night, Miami played Buffalo. If you watched, you know what happened. 2-2. Sorry, that's our receiver. Tua went down with yet another concussion. As you guys know, my feeling on concussions, this is really tough. And when he went down, they replayed his previous concussions. I have chills talking about it, because Tua's young. He has a family. He has 2 kids. And there is nothing worse than watching the person you love get hit in the head and freeze up and just get stiff. It's what happened to Tua. It's what is honestly the reason I would love for Matthew to retire. And I know that kills a lot of you to hear, but this is the part of life that lasts very short. Football is very short in the grand scheme of life. After that game yesterday, he came right over to us, and you could just tell, yeah, it sucks. That sucked. But it's a job, and we move on. We go to the next week. But when you continue to pile up concussions and injuries to your head, do you think you should move on to the next week? And I know this was a question that was circling the NFL, will Tua retire? Should he retire? First of all, I don't think it's anyone's decision except for Tua and his family. Everyone can sit here and tell him to retire, but these guys, coming from a wife of a quarterback, I also know that Tua has put his whole life into getting to this point and wanting to play in the big leagues and wanting to win a Super Bowl and all these things. So it's not that easy. And listen, I will preach, and I wish it was easy. I wish it was I'm done. I'm going to take care of me and my family, but it's not that easy. There's a lot that goes into this decision, and it's not going to be taken lightly, obviously, for him and his family. But I will say, I believe he's seeing the specialist that Matthew saw 2 years ago. And thank goodness for that. Hopefully it's good news on the other side of, those conversations. But this is a big reason of why I've always wanted turf to be out of this game. I know turf did not cause this concussion. Actually it was a clean hit. It just is what it is. But turf causes a lot of concussions. When people slam their heads on the ground and it's cement underneath it, that's a problem. And so I don't understand why this is still happening. I don't understand why these players aren't putting their foot down and saying, I'm not playing on turf anymore. I mean, you see the soccer players do it overseas. They don't play on turf. It's in their contract. I just feel like we need to put more money into the safety of these players, and that includes bringing grass into all these fields. So it just is frustrating because there are ways to limit it. Also, I was thinking last night, I was all right, thinking on concussions, obviously with Matthew still in the game, I was like, what's happening? We're down 30 points, get out of the game. I just don't want you injured. And I'm going, why have we not instilled a device in these helmets that can tell the velocity of hits or whatever they are to the head? And if it is, listen, I'm not a scientist, but if it is over a certain amount of, I don't know, it was velocity meters per second, I have no idea. But the impact, if the impact is over a certain amount, you're out. You get checked at least. Players are their own worst enemies with concussions because it's something that it's not an injury you can't play through. You can play through it and you can just say you're fine. And the brain has a way of doing that, being like, no, we're good. We're good. My limb's not broken. I'm fine. I can still do what I need to do. And meanwhile, your brain's bleeding. So I do think can we instill some type of device that reads the impact, and if you're over that impact, you come out and you get checked in a real concussion test, run by the NFL, not run by the teams, run by the NFL. So that way there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're out. You're out. There's got to be something to make it better. I mean, again, it costs money, but luckily the NFL has money. So we should do that to protect the players so that your star quarterback isn't going down. Anyways, I'm very passionate about this because I want better. Now, Matthew's almost done, so it's not going to make a difference for him, but I want better for the younger generation. I think they deserve better than what they're getting. So I hope that they fight for that. I hope, when Matthew's done, maybe he'll fight for it for them. Because I do think it's a huge problem. All right. Now we do not a segment, but it's a how'd you sleep last night after that game? Well, I was in my sleep number bed, thank goodness, because we were in and out. So I slept fine thanks to that. But I'm not going to lie, I did have a little anxiety about this next game. We are playing San Fran at home, and I just, I know they're a powerhouse, and luckily they lost, so that's good for us, like I've been saying, but it shows they're beatable, which is good, but I just have anxiety considering our O-line is beat up. We're going to have receivers out, and my husband, I love him so much, he really tries to make anything happen, even if it's giving himself up to get absolutely crushed. He'll sit in there and try and make it work. So that gives me anxiety. So did I sleep good? Yes. Thanks to the bed I was in. Did I sleep my best? No, because of the anxiety of this coming week. And the anxiety of just football in general. I mean, it's a lot. All right. A lot of teams use this week, and I wanted to talk about it because I feel like this is something that you guys might not understand if you're listening to this podcast, and that is the hurry up offense, also called a no huddle offense. If you're, I don't know, wanted to use a different word. What is that? Well, it is a plan to get as much yardage as possible in a very short amount of time. Say you're down by a lot. Say you're down by a score and you have a minute and 30 seconds. It's also used in the 2-minute drill. Some quarterbacks call the 2-minute offense or the hurry up offense. Some coaches do. And how that works, because you don't huddle. There's no huddle in a no-huddle offense. You're really trying to catch the defense off guard. There's no substitution, so you're trying to tire the defense out and just get down the field as quickly as you can. If the coaches are calling the 2-minute, they will just say a word to the quarterback, a word, a number. It's not a long play call. It is a word and number. And the quarterback will then signal to his receivers what the play is with like one signal. I mean, it's like, I don't know, let's just do some drums. Great. That's the signal. And then he'll kind of just like tell his O-line real quick. They try to get the ball off as quickly as possible, catching the defense off guard. I do feel like there's a lot of penalties during this because defense gets tired, they jump, or PI happens because they're just trying to keep up with the receivers. But I also feel like mistakes happen during the no-huddle offense because possibly receivers run the wrong route or the quarterback throws the ball in places that he shouldn't, or, blocking is not where it should be. In the no-huddle offense, there's more passing. It's all basically passing because running the ball, the clock continues to run, and you're trying to, again, get as much yardage without running out of time. So also, you're throwing the ball more. You're trying to get out of bounds. Out of bounds stops the clock if you are moving forward. If you are moving backwards when you go out of bounds, the clock continues to run. So you have to make sure you are forward progress when you're going out of bounds. I feel like that's a big one. I also feel like there was a lot of horrible timing things this weekend in the NFL. Like there were a lot of no huddle offenses that kind of just didn't do anything with, or they ran out of time or something like that. I believe it might have happened in the Detroit game where you guys ran out of time. I'm not sure on that, but I think you are always trying, if you're on offense, you're trying to stop that game clock. And again, that is an incomplete pass. That's why we're passing the ball more in a no-huddle offense, because if they don't catch it, the clock stops. If they catch it and get out of bounds, the clock stops. So everything is normally going to the sidelines as well. It's also, you can get the crowd out of it in a way. Which is good. It's good when you're trying to go down the field and the crowd's getting loud and you get a first down and they hush because you got a first down and you've already got the next play in. And so it's kind of a good way to kind of, hush the crowd down. I asked Matthew, I was like, okay, because I wanted to know with him what they do in a way. And he was like, well, you are good at what you practice at. So if you are sitting there doing hurry up offenses in practice a bunch, you're obviously better at that, which made a lot of sense. And I found it interesting too. Matthew's on a silent count, which means that, the fans are always loud. And that's even at our home games as well. We're kind of just on silent unless we have a good home crowd. Let's call it a bad away crowd. I think that's a better way to put it. Because we always have a home crowd, but a bad away crowd that doesn't travel, then Matthew can come off silent count. But other than that, I'm pretty sure he's on silent count the whole season. So you're trying, this is a very interesting thing to me. You're trying to get there as fast as you can. Mistakes happen. I understand that mistakes happened in the Detroit game. I understand they happened, honestly, in a lot of the close games this year. Oh, it's been a long weekend. This last weekend. And it is solely because you're trying to do things as fast as you can. And mistakes are probably going to happen. Now, again, if you practice it a bunch, maybe they don't. But I love when Matthew gets in a 2-minute offense because I love when he calls it. I didn't ask him if, I knew he called it in Detroit. I don't know if he calls it in LA. I don't know if Sean or him call the 2-minute offense. That's probably something I could have asked, but I didn't. But I used to love it in Detroit because he would call the 2-minute offense. And there's something about, listen, it's hot when he's out there. Okay. I'm not going to lie. I love watching him do what he do. I love watching him command a team. But when you can command the team while also getting to pick the plays, there's nothing hotter, especially when it works. Now when it doesn't work, it's not as fun. But when it works, it is hot. So Next time when you're sitting next to your significant other or your girlfriends or whatever, you be like, oh, they're not huddling. That's a hurry up offense. You want to know why they're doing that? Because they're trying to get the ball down the field while stopping the clock so they can get in range either to win the game in a field goal or score a touchdown to tie it or win. Who knows? They'll be like, what have you been reading Football for Dummies? So that is my little KBs, X's, and O's for today. I truly loved, honestly, taking my girls to their first away game and sitting in the stands. We were surrounded by incredible people. The Arizona fans were amazing. Like I said, a ton of Rams fans. So it felt good, even though the game was not. My girls had a great time, and they're like, Mommy, we're so close. We could like touch Daddy. I was like, yes. At one point, Tyler tried to jump over the fence, which honestly, I should have just let her, because then maybe security would have taken her and I'd have been like, listen, this is what happens when you don't listen to Mommy. Okay. You go to jail. So, and I'm not going. But it was so fun. And I don't know. 0-2. And I get the statistics about making playoffs, but I also think, and I might be biased, but we have a quarterback who is better when his back's against the wall. So I think that we're going to be just fine. I think we're going to get the momentum we need at the right time. We just have to survive. The Rams, I'm talking about the Rams, have to survive and just get some wins in these next couple games to set us up for that push when people come back from injury. All right, y'all, that is pretty much it I have for you today. I know it was a little tough because Kiera was not here. I know she'd be asking the questions that maybe you guys would ask, but she will be back very soon. And for this weekend, let's just pray again. There's no injuries. I'm probably going to end this podcast every week with praying for no injuries, because honestly, that's the most important things. These are people's lives. It's not, I mean, like, I'm very sorry. Yes, I'm very sorry if the injuries affect your fantasy team, but I'm more worried about injuries affecting the livelihoods of these men and the mental health of these men, because that's also a real thing. So I'm going to pray that there's no injuries on any of these teams, and that honestly we get a win on the board. San Fran's going to be tough, but I don't know. Matthew was even like, let's just go beat San Fran. I'm like, yeah, great. Let's do that. All right. With that, guys, I'm going to give you a time in. Thanks, y'all.